So welcome everyone. Welcome to our next episode of Connect with HSPC. Really excited for this one. So my name is Melanie McGregor and I am the chair of the Halton Suicide Prevention Coalition, and I also work at the Canadian Mental Health Association, the Halton Region branch. And with me is my awesome colleague, Deb Melmer, who's with us from Reach Out Center for Kids. And she's a longtime member of the Halton Suicide Prevention Coalition as well. So this, I think, is going to be an excellent episode. We really love to have these webcasts, give our community different perspectives on suicide prevention, and also talk about local resources. And so the program that we're talking about today is super exciting, and it's one that I first found out about a year and a half ago when I was asked to do some training related to this resource. So excited to have everyone learn more about it. So with us is Yasmine Madan, who is the founder of a really exciting resource called Anonymous Friend, which is providing some great resource and support for youth out there in our community. So Yasmine, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really excited again to have you here. So can you tell us a little bit about Anonymous Friend and what it is, what it's all about?
Yeah, so Anonymous Friend is a platform where teens receive mental health support through social media from other trained teens. Teens who are often the only ones who both understand their situation and truly know what to say. Through a YMCA Dangerous Idea grant and a Duke of Edinburgh national grant, I was able to launch and build this platform during the pandemic when the need for mental health support has been greatest. And although we have grown to a team of 25 mental health responders and have supported over 4,000 teens worldwide, much work needs to be done and many more are needed support.
That's great. Yeah, I remember when you first reached out about like a year and a half ago or just over, I guess, about some training. I remember communicating with you and we set up the training. And then when I met you in person, I was like, wow, this is a youth. Like this is a youth who has done all of this. So I was under the impression, it was a teacher or someone else. So I know just from the start, I mean, wow, good for you for all the work that you've put into this. So that's great.
Thank you.
Yasmine, we're curious as to why you thought there was a need for something like this to be available for youth, and what did it take for you to get this started and set up?
Yeah, so it was actually one of my best friends who launched me on this journey when she said I didn't know who to tell. So out of nowhere one night, she shared with me the scars from her battle with bullying, and until then, she had no one to share this anguish with. Talking to teachers was intimidating, talking to friends was embarrassing, and a phone helpline was just out of the question. For her, adults just wouldn't get it. And, bullying is horrible, but up to this point, it had always been an abstract problem to me. I had neither been a bully nor been bullied, and rarely had I witnessed it. My friend kind of gave me this glimpse into the kind of pain that peers can inflict upon one another and its lasting impact on mental health. And I couldn't help feel guilty that I wasn't there for her. But I also knew that there were many others like her and that the stigma surrounding mental illness remains a pervasive barrier to accessing help. And from this came a spark. Like I thought to myself, who better to support peers than peers? And then that's when Anonymous Friend was born. And we know that cyberbullying and specifically bullying through social media is a widespread issue that youth are facing. But what's really interesting about Anonymous Friend is that I kind of took the problem and turned it into the solution. So it's a bit paradoxical, but it's interesting nonetheless. You also asked about the process. So I did need funding. So I applied for a youth innovation grant from the YMCA. And I'm so grateful that I was awarded that, because without it, Anonymous Friend would not be what it is today. Other than that, I did everything myself. I designed the website. I had to start the social media. I had to design all the ads and I had to put them out there. And I brought together a group of teens to be the mental health responders. And Melanie helped me with that.
Great.
What an amazing person and what a reflective person you are to have had someone come forward with their story, have had those experiences, and have it bring you to this place is truly something to be appreciated. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
And I think your point is well taken, that youth are very likely to go to another youth, but often the youth that they're talking to, they may want to help but just not be really sure, okay, you know, like, how do I have this conversation? What do I tell this person? So it's great that this resource is available and as part of the solution.
Exactly, yeah.
So can you tell us about what the process is? So if a young person wants to reach out to one of the friends, an anonymous friend, what platform is it available on? What hours is it available? And kind of what does it look like when a youth reaches out?
Yeah, so youth are able to reach out through Instagram and Snapchat. So although our platform included a phone option previously, we actually did not receive a single call. So instead we have had over 100,000 support interactions exclusively through Instagram and Snapchat. And also for a large percentage of our users, Anonymous Friend is their only support resource because many do not have a phone number for texting or calling, and they place great value on the familiar social media experience, and particularly the knowledge that what they share with us on Snapchat will leave no trace. And there's also an added fear of talking to someone on the phone, which is very common for youth nowadays. So the ability to text adds another layer of comfort. As for the hours it's available outside of school hours, so 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays and 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekends.
Wow.
Amazing. Amazing. I think that's great. It does remove many barriers, as you've noted, for youth to be able to access support in a way that feels comfortable and meets their needs. Can you tell us about the Anonymous Friends and how they prepare to provide this support?
Yeah, so the first step is to go through the application process on our website. And if they're selected, they'll take a course to get certified in mental health first aid. So before the pandemic, they were taking a course by the CMHA called Mental Health First Aid, specifically for dealing with youth. And since the pandemic, the in-person classes were canceled, and we now have responders from all over the world because we offer our services in many languages. So I switched to an online mental health first aid course by Johns Hopkins. And then once they have been certified in mental health first aid, they go through a crash course orientation type of thing with me to train them to deal specifically with the platform and youth. So it's a pretty hefty process, but it's so important that they're trained well because that can make all the difference.
Great. And I know when we did I love training the friends, you know, when it started off in mental health first aid and the youth course. And what I really picked up from them was really their passion for supporting other youth. But also one thing was that much that Anonymous Friend is kind of for youth by youth. And so the friends were very open about these are the things that we're seeing with our peer group. And these are the things that we really, really want to prepare to provide support with. In a real life example, Yasmine, I'm sure you remember this, we had in the middle of the course, we had one of the participants had a friend texting her because he was feeling in crisis and she was the one that he was reaching out to. So it was, you know, mental health first aid in action and providing that support. And so I could really see from everyone throughout the course, but just even from this one friend in that experience, how much she wanted to help. And, you know, she's really eager to connect him with some other resources. So, you know, it happens. So it's great to know that we have that great team.
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of things, like I'm amazed by the numbers that you're having, of the numbers of interactions, but what kind of things have youth been reaching out about? Like, are there things that are specifically related to the pandemic, or what are some of the common things that you find the youth are reaching out to talk about?
So at the beginning of the pandemic, there were a lot of teens who were just lonely. So they were just looking for a friend to talk to. Another issue related to the pandemic was the stresses of online school. Like that was an issue for many youth. Aside from pandemic related issues, there's also quite an array of other problems. We get a lot of youth struggling with relationships, whether that's a significant other, a friend, parents, or even other family members. Then there's also obviously the vast issue of bullying that continues to be a trend in what we're seeing, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And I know it's been challenging during the pandemic. We've been hearing from people around trying to access the supports that they might otherwise access. And we know that, you know, service providers like CMHA, like Rock, that Deb is with, you know, they've been very creative in terms of having those virtual supports available, but always nice to have those other options.
Yeah,
for sure. If someone was watching this webcast, Yasmine, and they wanted to reach out and look at becoming a volunteer for Anonymous Friend, What would the screening process look like, and how would they go about, accessing and registering to be a volunteer?
Yeah, so I kind of touched on the process a bit before, but anyone worldwide from ages 17 to 23, they can just apply on our website.
And what is that website, if you could share it?
It's anonymous, kind of like a minus sign, and then friend.com.
Okay, great.
If you just look up anonymous friend, it'll be the first link that comes up.
Okay, excellent. So that's amazing that you have people from like volunteering from around the world. Like that's just, wow, you've grown from, focusing on the local area to really being global. So I think it really speaks to the need for this kind of resource and how meaningful it is and really how valuable those volunteers are. So that's, wow.
Yeah, what's actually interesting is that when I first started it, I was getting a lot of youth who are reaching out from countries where there aren't strong mental health resources and there's still a large stigma around mental health, for example, India and other countries in Asia. So I needed to expand the languages that were offered through Anonymous Friend naturally. So I had to recruit responders from India and get like people who spoke those languages so that the youth were comfortable when they were reaching out.
Yeah, that's great. Wow.
Amazing. It sounds so involved, and it sounds like it is well supported internationally, which I don't know that I've ever heard of anything like that before. So it is very exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great. So, I mean, again, it sounds like you've had lots of interactions with youth who are reaching out, and you yourself are really passionate about mental health, and I'm sure you know a lot of the resources that are available. So kind of just in your own experience with Anonymous Friend, or even outside of that, what types of tools and resources have you found helpful, both for youth reaching out to Anonymous Friend, but just kind of in your everyday life? Like, what are some things that you find are helpful when folks are struggling?
So for any youth based in Canada, I always recommend Kids Help Phone. They have a texting option and a calling option, which is amazing. There's also one that I recently found out about called Black Youth Helpline, which is another amazing resource. Beyond helplines, one can just have a conversation about their mental health with someone they trust, whether it's a parent, a friend, a mentor, a coach, a teacher, or even like a sibling. Just talking to anyone can be so beneficial.
Yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. What would you say to a youth who's struggling with their mental health or having thoughts of suicide?
I would say like talk to someone, whether it's us or another helpline or it's someone in your life. Just having a conversation about your mental health is so important. And I know it can be extremely difficult to open up to someone like that. It takes a lot of courage, but it is of the utmost importance when it comes to getting better. And to anyone out there who is struggling mentally, what you're going through is so tough, and you are so brave to have come as far as you have. And just know that what you're feeling is valid, you matter, and you're not alone.
Amazing.
Deb and I don't know how many times we said amazing in this webcast.
You know what? Like, honestly, at such a young age, to have inspired such an amazing process that has far-reaching abilities to provide support to mental health, not just within your own community, but in many other international communities. That's something to like be very super proud of. And I think that's where the repeated amazing might be rooted, is to watch someone of your age now creating something of this breadth. I can only imagine what you're capable of creating as you grow and move forward in your journey of life.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, what's interesting is that I started it initially, I wanted to start it in my school and it to be a resource for just students who go to my high school. But then I wasn't able to start it in my high school just for legal reasons. So I ended up taking it to the Oakville community. But then when you put something on social media, it can go anywhere. It can go anywhere in the world. And that's what happened. It kind of just like blew up in other places in the world. So then it just became this international platform. which I was so happy about, because especially for those countries where there still exists a stigma and there isn't resources, having like youth having this resource is so important.
Mm-hmm. And
We agree.
Yeah, safety is so important, you know, for anybody, but I think for youth to feel like, okay, this person gets me, you know, they can appreciate what I'm going through. This feels like a safe space. I feel comfortable. I can speak my language. I can talk about what's going on. And it sounds like that's really been at the forefront as you've, you know, built this, but also had it expand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think those of us who work in the mental health community, what we repeatedly say is we want to make sure that there's as many avenues as possible that are reasonable to provide that support to anyone experiencing a mental health crisis, because we want them to feel like they're not alone. And so I am very excited to happily promote your anonymous friend platform to the youth that I work with, because I think it's amazing.
This has been great, you know, to hear how it's grown since you started it. So is there anything that you want to share about Anonymous Friend that we haven't already touched on that you'd like people to know?
I don't think there's anything really. I've touched on a lot of things. You guys ask good questions.
Well, it's great when there's such an amazing, you know, again, there's that word, but when there's such an amazing and important resource out there that we're obviously really excited about. And we're so glad that you were able to join us for this interview. So for folks who are watching, definitely check out that website. So it was anonymous-friend.org. Was it .org or .com?
It was .com.
.com. Okay, thank you. So anonymous-friend.com. Definitely check that out, and, you know, reach out or share the information with the young people in your life. The more resources and the more support we can get out there, the better. So thanks so much, Deb, for joining me, and thanks to Yasmine for being with us and for everything that you're doing for the
thanks for having me.
Yeah. So everyone, join us again coming up. Our next webcast will be coming up shortly, and definitely keep an eye out for upcoming episodes of Connect with HSPC. So thanks so much for joining us.